and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, January 7th, and I'm your host, Kristen McDonald. It is great to have you with us as we end another week here in Norwood. Monday night, the town of Norwood hosted a special town election to fill the seat of former Selectman David Hajar. Norwood Community Media hosted its election night coverage and reported the results as they came in. To start the show, current chair of the Board of Selectmen, Tom Maloney, spoke about the late David Hajar.
He was a real workhorse on the board, as you know. What's the biggest thing that you remember about him?
Well, I smile because workhorse understates it. You know, David was a full-time selectman, and he got down into the details of everything he worked on. He was always prepared for the discussion and the debate. You know, however the vote would come down, David was always ready to discuss it. So, I mean, he really took the role seriously, and he applied everything he had to it, which was a considerable talent. And so, what I remember most, it's about, boy, that guy really knows what he's talking about on this. He's really paying attention. So.
The turnout at the polls was very low, as only just over 1,600 people voted. It was a close race, with Alan Howard, former selectman, winning by just 30 votes. Howard was extremely happy to win and is looking forward to getting right to work.
I have 2 or 3 serious objectives, and the biggest being that I consider the 3 months a probation period, that I have to prove myself to all the people of Norwood, those that voted for me and those that didn't vote for me, to vote for me in April. And that's my goal, that I'm going to work very hard, and I'm just going to try to accomplish that.
Amanda Groh, who was a very close second, was happy to speak to the NCM hosts and have the opportunity to thank everyone who helped her with her campaign.
Everybody in the community, so many people reached out to me, not just to say, hey, will you run, but also to say, hey, come and see these people, or hey, you should be here. You should be. The community tells you what matters to the community, and you go where the community wants. And so just such a big thanks to everybody who was helping, and a big thanks to voters, you know, for people who came out in person. I know that, you know, you're taking a risk being out here, right? This pandemic isn't over, sadly. And so just big thanks to everybody who's been out here and involved and engaged, and just the biggest thanks for being civically engaged, right? Being involved in the community is what matters, and so it matters a lot to me.
To watch the full election night coverage, tune into the NCM Community Channel or watch it on demand. The highly transmissible Omicron variant is affecting communities across the globe. Erin Crowley shares the latest Norfolk County COVID statistics.
Let's take a look at some metrics provided by the CDC. You can see on the map here behind me that a surge in COVID cases are happening across the state. Now looking at case rates in the county, there are just over 10,000 people infected with the virus right now. That's roughly 20% of the relative population. In Norfolk County, community transmission rates are high. This means that the virus is spreading very easily. You can protect yourself and others by wearing a mask indoors and at times when you cannot be socially distanced. In partnership with the health department, we'll provide important COVID-related updates all year long.
Thanks, Erin. In partnership with the health department, NCM will continue to provide important COVID-related updates. Please remember, if you are feeling sick, isolate yourself and get tested. For additional questions, please contact your primary care provider. Stay tuned after this break for a recap of Norwood's first night celebrations.
Norwood Community Media is your home for all things Norwood. NCM delivers your local news, original programs, and information across multiple platforms. From the comfort of your living room or out on the road, stay connected to Norwood and watch NCM live from wherever, whenever.
Welcome back. The town of Norwood kicked off its year-long celebration of its 150th birthday with a special first night event on the town common. Downtown was packed with all ages that enjoyed many activities, ice sculptures, live entertainment, and s'mores by the fire pits. First night organizer and member of the 150th Steering Committee, Ann Haley, explains how it all started.
I thought all of a sudden that we needed first night and to start off our celebratory year with a bang, and I think we've done that. That's pretty much how it started. I'd been to Boston's first nights and enjoyed them, and I wanted to bring it here to Norwood.
This event was similar to planning a Norwood Day. Retired Superintendent of Recreation, Jerry Miller, who is also on the steering committee, knows what it takes to organize an event of this size.
You need good people, and we always had volunteers that would come forward and said, what do you need? And then they would take their expertise and their strong points, we'd bring them together and we had Norwood Day and a function like this was able to happen.
With COVID numbers back on the rise, the committee made last-minute adjustments so first night could go on in an outdoor, safe environment. There were a lot of moving parts, and Haley credits current Superintendent of Recreation, Travis Farley, for making it happen.
Well, most of the work during the pivotal time was done by Travis. I did the light work. I was the one sitting on the phone calling the folks that had volunteered for us. But Travis was doing the heavy lifting, I have to say, and it was incredible what he has pulled off. He was just magnificent. Can't say enough about it.
I think Norwood Day is a much larger scale event, but this was definitely a lot more work just because of all the changes we made in a very short period of time. We basically changed from an indoor venue to an outdoor venue, and we had multiple groups unfortunately have to back out for COVID and various reasons of concern. So it was, I would say, as far as planning, like in a short period of time, much more work. Norwood Day probably long-term, a lot more work just because of the scale of the event. For me, or at least I hope, it would be kind of a tone setter, that it would kind of set the tone for the year. People see the event, it's the first 150th event. People realize that it's a fun event, that they're going to put a lot of good activities together and good events. And I hope people like it and they get excited about the 150th celebration.
This really turned out to be a fantastic night. The weather cooperated. We had a lot more events planned, but because of the COVID crisis and everything, things within the last 2 days had to get changed to an outdoor event, and it's just absolutely perfect. As you well know, when 4 o'clock hit, the town common was just packed. I mean, it's young families with young kids enjoying themselves, having a great time. It's just turned out to be a fantastic, family-friendly event. Really, my hat's off to all the volunteers and the people who put this together.
Chairman of the Selectmen, Tom Maloney, is also chair of the 150th Steering Committee and was very happy with the turnout and gives thanks to the individuals on the 150th committee.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, this has exceeded expectations today. The turnout is fabulous. The weather helped too, but also the publicity that we did in the last month or so has been terrific, with Katie Neal Rizzo and the publicity committee, Chris Welch, Kim Randall with merchandising, and of course Jerry Miller. I know you talked to Jerry, who's done a great job with Ernie Paczykowski and some others. But I think that the lion's share of the tribute goes to Travis Farley and the Recreation Department, and Ann Haley from the steering committee, who put so much time into this to get it to be what you see here tonight. Mike Rosen in Town Hall and Tony Mizuko. So there's a lot of people to thank. But the big thing is that people appreciate it, they enjoy it, they wanted to come out, they wanted to celebrate. This has been a difficult couple of years here in the U.S., as you know, but it hasn't stopped us here in Norwood from beginning the sesquicentennial in high style. Having a great time out here tonight. There's more to go for several more hours. And Happy New Year, everybody, and happy birthday, Norwood.
The night concluded with a 10 o'clock ball drop in front of the town hall. Let's listen to the countdown. To stay up to date on the 150th activities, go to norwoodma150.gov. And now we're going to toss it over to Dory Theos with the latest in school news.
Happy New Year. I'm Dory Theos with Norwood School News. This was a short week, so we'll highlight a few leftover items from 2021. At the Callahan School, prior to the winter vacation, the staff and students rang in the new year with the Spirit Week, holiday shop, and performances by the Madrigals and the Celtic Strings. Spirit Week consisted of Mustang Monday, Silly Sock Day, Festive and Fun Sweater Day, and of course, Pajama Day. The PTA sponsored a holiday shop where students purchased gifts for family members, and the highlight of the week was a performance by the Madrigals and Celtic Strings. At the Prescott School, the students were greeted with some music as they entered the school. There were also short performances in the gym and on stage. Let's take a look. The Norwood Senior Center brought the students at the Oldham School a warm winter surprise. All first grade students were provided with hand-knit scarves and hats to help make the winter a little brighter. As you can see, the students loved the presents and sent an even warmer thank you to the volunteers who made these wonderful gifts. What a great personal gift from the seniors to the first graders. Thank you, Norwood Senior Center. Well, that's it for school news. There is something interesting happening in our classrooms and schools every day, and thanks to all the educators who share their news with us. Now let's send it over to Mike Maloof with the latest in winter sports.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Update. With the new year has come a new and old set of challenges for the winter sports. As the new COVID variant spreads rapidly through the country and the state, a lot of the winter sports are dealing with postponed games and canceled practices. The games that are being played are with teams that have far fewer players than on their full rosters. But everyone from athletes, coaches, and athletic departments are doing the best they can to make this season work. Earlier this week, Principal of the high school, Dr. Hugh Galligan, and Athletic Director John Longley sent a co-email regarding some sports attendance changes for the coming weeks. Quote, as a result of the increased numbers and in effort to sustain winter athletics, effective January 4th, attendance at NHS home athletic events will be limited to 4 family members per student athlete playing in the contest. At this time, no members of the general public outside of the family members will be allowed to attend games. In addition to this new policy, each winter sports venue has their own COVID policies, and they are as follows. Blue Hills for swim and dive, no spectators. Wheaton College for track, no spectators. Reggie Lewis also for track, 2 parents per athlete. NHS Gym for basketball, cheer, and wrestling, 4 family members per athlete. Skating Club of Boston for hockey, 4 family members per athlete. And Broderick Gymnastics, 4 family members per athlete. In the email, it was stated that this is a temporary decision and that they hope to have the general public and students back as fans later this season. But enough with the doom and gloom of COVID. There were some games played this week, and just as before the winter break, the teams are rolling. Tuesday night, boys basketball traveled to Medfield and took on a strong Warriors team. It was close throughout, but the boys came away with a 69-67 win, led by Noah Badette with 35 points and Joey Steves with 14. Also Tuesday, the girls basketball team hosted their first home game of the season against Medfield. It was another close game, but the girls eventually pulled away with a 49-39 win. The Mustangs were led by Erin Green with 15 points and Megan Olbridge with 14. Then on Thursday, the girls hosted Ashland, which was a makeup game that was rescheduled from earlier this year. The girls got off to an early lead and never looked back, winning 72-27. Off the bench, Alexa Kors scored 15 points for the Mustangs, and it was a great all-around effort to get the win against Ashland. On Wednesday, the boys hockey team was on the road to take on Medfield. It was close in the first, but the Mustangs pulled away in the second period, eventually coming away with a 4-0 win. Both boys and girls track had meets this week. Monday, the girls were at Wheaton College to take on Hopkinton. There were some strong individual performances, but eventually the Mustangs lost 82-12. And then on Thursday, the boys were also at Wheaton College to take on Holliston. The Mustangs kept it close throughout most of the meet, but eventually Holliston came away with a 50-45 win. Well, that's all for sports this week. Barring any COVID postponements, NCM will be covering gymnastics versus Medway Monday night, which will be rebroadcast later in the week. Boys basketball versus Millis live Tuesday night. Wrestling versus Dedham live Wednesday night. Girls hockey versus Mansfield Oliver Ames Wednesday night, which will be rebroadcast. And girls basketball versus Medway live Friday night. Watch the bulletin board channel or check out social media for any updates. Kristen, back to you.
Thanks, Mike. In government, the selectmen welcomed the return of Alan Howard. Howard did not seek re-election in 2020 when his term expired. Howard has returned for a 3-month seat to fill a vacancy left by the passing of David Hajar. The board met with David Hearn and representatives of 83 Moore Street to start a conversation about what they are planning for the back half of their property. While still in the very early preliminary stages, ideas were presented to the board on what the South Norwood property could look like in coming years, including a small cafe and 4-story luxury apartment building. The selectmen will meet again on January 18th. Tuesday night, the zoning board hosted a hybrid meeting in the multipurpose room of the senior center. The sole agenda item of the night was a public hearing for special permit application at 96 Maple Street. The applicant was requesting a second-floor addition to the existing non-conforming single-family residence. During the presentation, there was one resident who spoke in opposition. The hearing was then approved by the board. Following the approval, the opposing resident felt her concerns were not heard and asked about the options to appeal the decision. To end the meeting, the board discussed their future meetings and agreed that they will go month by month, but will meet virtually in February. The next meeting will be February 1st. The Conservation Commission met on Wednesday night. They had 2 public hearings. The first one was for an addition of a 2-story garage, back deck, and front and rear porches at 87 Plantation Circle. The applicant needed approval because the porches are within the current buffer zone bordering vegetated wetlands. The board voted to postpone their decision until their next meeting, following their discussion of guidelines for approval. The second public hearing was for an addition to a commercial building at 106 Access Road. The building is also in a buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. The next meeting will be in February. For complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government Channel or watch on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break for more town news. Welcome back. With the new year comes a number of new programs provided by the Rec Department. For this, we go to Katie Seastead.
Hi Norwood, Katie Seastead here from the Recreation Department. We are gearing up for our programming for the winter and spring. So if you have not already got it, the winter and spring program guide should be in your mailbox. We have copies of it at the Recreation Department as well as online if you would like to see it online. We have a bunch of different programming coming up, and we also have a lot of different activities going on. So this year we partnered up with the Mass Audubon, some of our new program, Puddle Stompers, Spoon to Garden, which is a really cool, or Garden to Spoon, learning how basically growing food in the gardens turns into the food on your plate. So these are a couple of new programming that's going on. We also have some of our staple programs going on. Floor hockey is in its 51st season, but we're calling it the 50th season, as last year it was a little bit different. So we're celebrating 50 years of floor hockey here in Norwood. So that is an awesome program. If you're looking for Saturday classes, we offer Saturday classes right now. We have American Sign Language, we have a science class, we have an archery program. So if you're looking for something to do on a Saturday, there is plenty of opportunities at the Civic Center. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about the Civic Center, please let us know. We look forward to the programming coming up. We hope you have a wonderful new year, and we look forward to seeing you at the Civic Center soon.
Thanks, Katie. Make sure to follow the Rec Department on social media for any updates. Longtime Norwood residents remember spending Tuesday afternoons at the farmers market on the town common. A new committee of residents is joining forces to reestablish Norwood's farmers market. Resident Peter McFarland shares more on the initiative.
We haven't had the farmers market active for the last 2 years. So as far as that goes, it was kind of knocked down by COVID. And so right now there is no standing committee for the farmers market. What we're trying to do is get about 7 to 9 members that be wanted to be active and help us. There's a lot of things to do. When we have to decide on a day, a time, and a place for where the farmers market's going to be. But also, we have to recruit vendors, farmers. We need 2 or 3 farmers to come in, and others. We had Jordan Fish before. We had Ward's Berry Farm and a few others. But now we have to recruit them too to see, and that becomes complicated because depending on what day we pick, what farmers are available. So it takes a little bit of work. Then the other thing is, raising awareness that the farmers market's back, and then also recruiting volunteers and people to help work the site. It's about eating healthy and buying food locally, but it's also about building community. And what you want to do, when you see a robust farmers market in a community, it's not just a few people going through produce and buying. It's a lot of interaction. There's organizations that get involved, and a lot of that too. So,
for those interested in joining the new committee, please email Peter McFarland at ptmcfarland@gmail.com. Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.